Hey guys, it's Marissa Farrell with STL Bucket List.
And I'm Luke Farrell, and we're so excited to announce a brand new partnership with STL Bucket List.
And I'm Vanessa Cooksey, President and CEO of the Regional Arts Commission, the largest public funder of arts organizations and artists in St. Louis.
Tune in every week to hear why St. Louis is an arts town. Welcome back to the STL Bucket List Show. I am your host, Luke Farrell.
I'm your other host, Marissa Farrell.
We're excited to record another weekly episode here at Half Coast Studios, our studio partner that cuts, edits, and distributes every podcast here so that we can highlight everything great about St. Louis. Today is something very special as we announce our official partnership with the Regional Arts Commission. I'm going to show you guys exactly how they highlight the great arts in our city and show that St. Louis is an arts town. So today, I'm here with Jay Schurter and Vanessa Cooksey of the Regional Arts Commission. Welcome to the STL Bucket List Show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having
us. Be here.
Yeah,
Thank you for being here. We're excited.
Very excited.
We're super stoked about this partnership because we truly believe just in our own life, the amount of art that we do in St. Louis, the free art that we have in St. Louis. So we really wanted to get into what is the Regional Arts Commission.
The Regional Arts Commission is the largest public funder of the arts. We are funded by hotel motel sales tax. When in 1985, the people of St. Louis said, we do not want art to be a luxury here. Art is an essential part of our lives. So they created RAC to fund artists and arts organizations in St. Louis City and St. Louis County.
And you know what we really love, this is a statistic I particularly love, is more than 12 million people come to St. Louis every single year to experience the arts. And that's more than all sports combined. And I think a lot of people are really surprised by that number because St. Louis is a sports town. Don't get me wrong. We love the Cardinals. We love the Blues. We definitely are going to love St. Louis City SC. We love all our collegiate sports too. And they're an extremely important part of St. Louis's culture. But at the same time, we have this amazing arts and culture sector, of all these wonderful music institutions and theater and performing arts, visual arts. And it brings so many people to St. Louis every year. And I think a lot of people just don't realize that, at least the way they should.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me about some of the institutions that you guys work with, and tell me some of the vital work that you guys do for these institutions, especially off this last 2 or 3 years that we just went through.
It has been a challenge, not only for RAC, but for our arts organizations when things started shutting down and we couldn't have performances indoors with people. I'm so glad to report that 2 years later, performances are back. We went to see Karate Kid. We've got everything in all parts of this community. We support large organizations like the Symphony, small organizations like Call to Conscience. There are over 400 nonprofit arts organizations in St. Louis. And what makes RAC special is that we get to fund artists. So from Brock Seals to Kababi Bayak, people who are earning their living, being creative and making our community more beautiful, fun, and vibrant, we get to write them checks and say, go be great.
And that's so fun, to be able to actually give people money. I was really surprised. So this is the first time that I've experienced a grant funding through the Regional Arts Commission, and we just gave away more than $1 million in grants to, it's a great moment. It's a great moment because it took us 2 years to do it because of the pandemic. But we just gave away $1 million to local arts programs and local artists. That was 170 individuals and organizations that just got money from us. And the amount of love we received on social media of all these people saying, oh my gosh, this just changed my life. I can't thank you enough. And I don't say that to toot our own horn. I say it because it just was such an amazing feeling for me as somebody who runs the social media channels and puts out content for the Regional Arts Commission. It was like, wow, we are really changing lives in St. Louis. We're really affecting lives in St. Louis. And I think that's such a cool opportunity. And how many people can say they're doing that? Now, don't get me wrong. We got plenty of great organizations that are doing a lot of good in St. Louis, but for me personally, to be able to be a part of that is something really special. And I think that's, why Vanessa came over. She's been with the Regional Arts Commission for, it'll be 2 years in January? November.
Yeah.
And, she did a lot of different things before this, but, she came to the Regional Arts Commission because she saw how amazing the organization was and just how important it was. And you've been rocking it ever since.
Yeah. And one thing I will say why we're so excited about this partnership is that you believe the same thing we believe. St. Louis is such a cool place to live. We have free museums and zoos and just so much to do all over the region, and we fund that, and you all feature it. You've been featuring it, and this partnership just makes so much sense for us to tell all the good things that are happening in St. Louis, because oftentimes we get caught up in the bad news, but it's so cool to be good news.
Yes.
Like, you all are good news, we're funding good news, we're making good news, and St. Louis is a beautiful community because of it.
Have you all seen The Karate Kid?
We heard great
Oh,
things
it's so
about it,
fun.
that
Oh,
it
it's so
was
fun.
phenomenal.
And
It's
the
so
fact
fun.
that that started in St. Louis and now
now
it's
it's
heading
going
to
to New
Broadway.
York,
Like, how
yeah.
rare is that something like that? Because usually that might start in New York, where they get the kinks out before they head to the big stage. But
Sure.
tell us
Same
how
here.
special that is for St. Louis.
It is super special. St. Louis is actually the runway to Broadway. We have an amazing history of great talent that starts here and goes to the coast. And we just want to talk about it more, from the Karate Kid to work that Brian Owens is doing to just museums and exhibits. Our art here is so impactful and makes a big difference that it takes notice from people from around the world.
Well, the opera STL, perhaps not everyone's into opera, but I think you also might think that you may think you know what opera is, and you really don't. And we just had a show that premiered here in St. Louis that's now playing in the Metropolitan Opera House in New York City.
Fire Shut Up
You know,
in My Bones
yeah.
with Terrence Blanchard.
Exactly. And it's, such an amazing opportunity, and we fund that, and we fund Stages St. Louis that help bring Karate Kid to St. Louis. Ralph Macchio, the original Karate Kid, was actually in town to see the show the other day. And so that's so cool that all of a sudden you've got these people coming to St. Louis to experience, a Broadway show. And I was talking to some of the folks that are behind the Karate Kid, and they said, there was about 100 or so people that came to St. Louis for this show to build the show. We're talking production people and set designers and choreographers and all that sort of thing. And none of them had really experienced St. Louis before, right? And, they have all fallen in love with this city. And from a financial standpoint, they're all just so amazed that they can put on a production in St. Louis for a fraction of the cost that it would be in New York, LA, even Chicago. So they can, come to St. Louis, figure out what their show is going to be like in New York, spend a fraction of the cost, but more importantly, they get to still be in a really cool place with really cool things to do that everybody in the cast enjoys. So we just made a lasting impression on 100 people that have some, decent amount of influence in a sector that we fund, and they love St. Louis. So it's like, if we can just keep doing that,
Yes.
Man, the impact we would have.
Absolutely.
Wow. And so part of your mission statement talks about equitable opportunities. And so what does that look like for you, and how do you approach that going forward with all of your partners?
Well, what it looks like currently is we've been very focused on making sure that our systems are in place. Oftentimes, equity is a result of poor policy, bad systems. It's not just about bad people making bad decisions. There's structures that influence inequity. And so we made our application shorter. We don't ask questions that we don't need to answer to. If you're a working artist, you don't have 2-3 hours to spend filling out a long application just to prove your worth. For us, it's, what is your creativity? What is your vision? How is this art going to make our community better? So we ask essential questions now instead of long application questions. The other thing we did is we stopped requiring a matching funds. So we used to say, well, we don't want RAC to only be your only source of funding. Well, sometimes we catalyze art projects. And so now with no matching funds, they can come to us first and say, we have this really great idea that's going to make St. Louis better, whether it's a play, a song, a performance, a painting, and we're happy to support that. So it's just doing things that make it easier for artists and arts organizations to get resources from us to be creative.
Yeah.
And you look at a lot of those organizations too, Marissa, that, truly are just, especially with the program support grants that we just gave out, the difference that some of these organizations are making in the community. Artists First down in Maplewood, who help artists of all abilities, have the chance to be able to create whatever they want. You look at somewhere like Perennial, which is down on South Broadway, that, they take their sustainable crafting classes into domestic abuse shelters and situations like that. And they have an actual licensed art therapist on staff to help facilitate those sessions. You have Artworks on Delmar, where we're located, that hires actual apprentices, teenagers in the community to help beautify the community, and they get paid. They get paid to do that. So you look at all these amazing programs that we support, and not only are we trying to increase equity when it comes to who we're funding, but we also just see that, actually happening in real time of these organizations that are doing things. And again, as I mentioned earlier, it's just such a good feeling to be able to see what they're doing with that funding. And that's a good feeling.
You took the chance on them. You believed in them. Like, this is your talent. This is what you can do. Do it.
Go do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as an artist, so like you guys said, you guys fund individual artists, which is rare compared to just organizations. Now, you also have your organizations, but if I'm an individual artist, and there's a lot of people that listen to this show that have just been finding out about you when you announced all the grants.
Yes.
So how do they get resources? Like, let's just think I'm an artist. What do I do? What steps do I need to take my project and get funding from you guys?
Thank you for asking that. And I'm super excited. So we had gone 2 years without offering artist support. So I kind of describe my experience at RAC. I feel like I'm running a 37-year-old startup. So we're making things better. But my encouragement to artists is connect with us via social media, connect with our website. Next year, we're going to offer a lot more resources to help artists with the grant writing and with the ask process. So in addition to making sure we're not asking questions that aren't relevant to the artist, but helping them learn with RAC what can help them find other sources of funding. So it's as simple as filling out the application, going through the review process, but how can we have them present an elevator pitch or their artist statement that they can then use for other work? So we're focused on capacity building and making sure, in the same way that we get excited about tech entrepreneurs and we have Bio STL and Arch grants, RAC is going to be that infrastructure and support for artists because they are entrepreneurs, right? And they run their own businesses. Sometimes they're solopreneurs, and they need capacity building, help with marketing, help with legal. We have a great relationship with volunteer lawyers and accountants for the arts. So if they need help setting up their financial or legal status, we provide those services for free. So the first thing to do is just get connected with us, and we hear loud and clear that we need to partner.
And, we did have some artists that weren't funded this time around. And we recognize that we had some shortcomings in that training process, but we're transparent about that. We're honest about that. We're not hiding behind anything. And I think what Vanessa said is just, it really hits at where we want to go in the future, is to really make sure that every artist that applies feels at least like they're prepared, and I think, have you ever applied for a grant? Have you ever applied for a grant? Like it can be a very daunting process for a lot of people.
On it.
Yeah. And so we're really trying to alleviate that. And furthermore, I think it's also just important to connect with RAC in general, because outside of just grant funding, we also have a lot of connections in the community, and we have, a lot of opportunities perhaps for artists to get involved in different things. Absolutely. So, if we don't know, you're out there, it's awfully hard for us to connect you with other people as well. And, what we found, which I think is really interesting, this last grant round, so it's, again, been 2 years since we've done this, 40%, give or take, of all of our artist support grant applicants were new. Or not applicants, the folks that got the actual grants. They're first timers. Wow. So it's clear that there are a whole group of artists out there that we had never really talked with before. And that's exciting for us. And, the hope is that the folks that didn't apply this year that we knew of before are successful enough they don't need us anymore. But, we want to keep reaching out to the artist community, because there are some 15,000 or so working artists, give or take, in St. Louis.
And the other part of it is
Yeah.
it's a numbers game, right? So we had $250,000 budgeted for artist support grants and $1.8 million in requests. So another way to help RAC is to reach out to the local elected officials and tell them RAC needs ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan Act funds. There's current legislation for RAC to receive these dollars. The more dollars we can get, the more grants and programs we can do. So our main source of funding being hotel motel sales tax revenue was severely impacted by the COVID pandemic. We went from $7 million to $2 million. We're sitting on $4 million right now. So some of it is just a matter of we need more resources so that we can do more grant making.
And we went from 16 staff down to 4. I mean, with
Now we're at
60%
7.
of our revenue going away at the same time, it was not an easy ordeal, and certainly we were not alone. I mean, anybody that relied on tourism, which we do because we rely on people staying in hotels, and even the staycation folks weren't going anywhere. So you all know, you guys go to hotels. I see you guys all the time. You're always at some little hotel pool, and I'm like, why am I not there?
You got to get plugged in, man.
Exactly.
Bucket list effect.
But people weren't staying, and so. Yeah. That hit us really hard. So now as people are starting to come back to St. Louis, conventions, which people probably don't think much about, St. Louis actually hosts a lot of conventions. We had one the other day that was for people that are in the Halloween trade. I don't know why it made me laugh so much, but I guess it's like all the cool things that are going to be showing up in stores next Halloween.
All the pop-ups.
I know, I kind of wanted to see if I could sneak my way in there to be get a preview of what the cool things are going to be this next year. But I mean, that brought a couple thousand people to St. Louis, and that's a couple thousand people staying in hotels. And that also is a couple thousand people who get to experience St. Louis, and how do we convince them to come back again? And so that's the other part of the Regional Arts Commission that I really want people to know about. Yes, grant making is at the heart of what we do. We want to support artists, and we want to support local arts programs and local arts organizations. But we also just want to let people know that St. Louis is an arts town. It is a cool place to be. And really, we need to do a better job, I think, as an entire region, selling ourselves as that, because you do have a lot of really great places. Let's think here. You've got Cherokee Street, that is this fun little quirky place that I was there for the Riverfront Times Art Affair last week. You've got the Grand Center Arts District, which just has all kinds of wonderful things, and Music at the Intersection, which we are proudly supporting, coming up in September. You've got Del Mar. You've got all these little pockets, and everyone knows about the little pockets, but we don't talk about it as a whole. And I think that's something that we're working on trying to fix, because, if we can't get people here in St. Louis talking about how much we're an arts town, how do we sell that to somebody who's coming here?
Right. And that's a key mission with us. And since the beginning with STL Bucket List, the mission's very simple. It's highlight the people, places, and events that make St. Louis special.
Yeah.
That's it. So how can we do that? Okay, the people. That's entrepreneurs. That's people that are fighting for stuff, that are doing things. That's artists. We highlight a lot of artists because it's cool. Now you have the people, the places, the art institutes, obviously the sports venues, the restaurants. There's so much great food here. Those are culinary artists. Art's in that. Now the events, all the events are surrounded by art too. Any event, you have people selling crafts that they made, anything so it's all it all just makes sense. That's why I'm just excited to work with you guys. And I just think that there's so much potential. But it's really just like I said, the first time we met is finding those people that are in St. Louis and St. Charles County to look at St. Louis as a Chicago, because you go to Chicago and you go to all these things, or you go to New York City and you go to Broadway. So
or even Nashville. I mean, with the music scene, I mean, it's super close, or Memphis with blues, it's St. Louis should be the blues place, not Memphis.
Yes.
Though I love Memphis. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think, that's the conversation we're trying to have. And how we're trying to do that is really a lot, too, through partnerships. We're really trying to reach outward and not try to battle anybody, but try to work together with folks on how can we work together to spread awareness of the St. Louis art scene. And so we're very excited to partner with STL Bucket List, but we're also, looking at a lot of other different avenues in different ways. Explore St. Louis, who, is the tourism arm / Chamber of Commerce, for St. Louis, has been a great partner with us in trying to pitch the arts, to different folks. We actually had someone go on that inaugural flight over to Frankfurt, Germany, of the new flight that's going from St. Louis to Frankfurt.
We've talked about this a lot today.
Yeah, we had somebody on that flight, and because we think it's important to be able to send an art representative over to a potential country that could send a lot of people this way,
Right. Just
which would be awesome.
Yes.
you know, it's all about the partnerships. And that's why I said, why don't people collaborate more? And everybody, like, you know, like collaborating with Explore St. Louis, they're a great resource for tourism, where our page, it seems like we focus more on people that live here. So it's like, but it's like, we do want the tourism too.
That's right.
And how do we highlight the places that don't always get highlighted? Because not every place has a $10,000 marketing budget a month to run paid ads on the magazines and on the website. So it's like, we try to find places that are
and
that
we
are amazing.
don't.
We just,
I want to make that very clear.
No,
too.
but that's why you have to partner, though. That's why you have to
That's
partner.
right.
So, like, if I want to highlight,
you just share your experience.
yeah, you
That's
share
right.
your
Where we went,
experience
we
at
got
these
this.
places,
Yes.
and we try to do that with small restaurants because, like I mentioned, the bucket list effect is if we go to this small restaurant and make a post, it could potentially be seen by 100,000 people. So
That's right.
even if
Yeah.
1% of those people go to that restaurant, they're going to see a big uptick in
Yeah.
business. So.
That happens a lot. People are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I saw that. I want to go there." I'm like, "Go
Yes.
there. You
Go
should,
there.
you know,
Absolutely.
and get this when you go. You know,
And that's why I'm so excited also about this partnership, because you all are focused on people that live here. I've lived in St. Louis for 14 years, so it feels like I am from here. But there's so many people who live in a particular part of town, and that's where they stay. And they miss out on the community that exists all over, from North County, South County, West. We have beautiful arts communities all over, and it's so important as we want to build our own civic pride that we get to experience folks from different parts of town, and arts helps us to do that. And being in partnership with you is one of the things that I'm also excited about. Like, you're focused on people who live here, and we're the ones that are here every day that are building this community, voting for our elected officials, opening businesses, and the way that we see and build the community that we want to live in is by having those relationships and interactions.
And you think about some of these places too that people probably have never been to. I was always surprised when I asked people if they've ever actually been up in the Arch. Have you been up in the Arch? You haven't, have you?
Listen to
You
me.
haven't, have
Listen,
you?
I said
I
I'm
work right
taking
next
you.
door, too.
I have this like surprise date, but it's not a surprise anymore. But I'm taking him in the Arch because he's never been, and he's right there all the time.
I've
but
been in the
you're just
museum
busy.
underneath. I just
Yeah.
never went up
Yeah,
into
well,
it.
it's just,
you
I mean,
live
it's-
here, you take that stuff for granted.
Exactly.
Because
Like,
everybody,
we're
when they
going.
come in
Perfect.
town,
You
that's
gotta
the
ride
first
the
thing they
tram up
do when
there.
they come in town.
Exactly.
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
funny. I
But we need to be
I know,
tourists.
just-
We need to be tourists in our own
But
city.
yeah,
That's
exactly. And I
right.
think, there's just such opportunity there. You know, I went to the National Blues Museum last week, and they do an awesome jam session on Thursday where local musicians come in and then they sign up and they literally jam together, and then they kind of like tag out, and like you're
That's
playing the
cool.
drums and the song's over, like, all right, tag out, new drummer in. And they do that all night. And, you know, they've got a bar and it's a cool setup, and we help fund that. And that's super awesome. And it's an amazing museum. It is a gym that everyone should go see. You've got the Contemporary Art Museum that is free, that has really cool exhibits in there, and it's a cool building too as well. The Sheldon, which has smaller concerts, but it also has a putt-putt golf course right now, which every hole is designed by someone else that's local. And so you've got like all these cool little quirky things that you can do that really doesn't cost all that much, and it's right here in our backyard. And so many people have never been to the Sheldon, or have been to the National Blues Museum, or the Black Rep, which is one of the largest Black-owned theater companies in the United States, I believe,
Absolutely. One of the oldest too.
and one of the oldest as well. So we have all this wonderful stuff, so it just, and I'll fully admit, I just started working in the arts back in November, and I felt really silly of how much stuff I started discovering that I had no idea was here.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've lived here for most of my life. How did I not know this stuff existed?
Yeah,
and
there's
I
a
like to
lot.
think as
There's
myself
so
as somebody
much.
who likes to try new
Yeah.
things and do things. But you just kind of get fixated on, some of those bigger events that we all love. The Whitaker Music Festival at the Botanical Gardens is awesome, and I love going to that. But it's highly publicized, and there's a lot of people know about it, but perhaps they don't know about some of the smaller ones like Blues on the Block, which the National Blues Museum does. So you start looking at some of that stuff, and I challenge anyone that is listening to this, watching this, that lives in the St. Louis area, to really start exploring a lot more than they have been in the past, because I think they'll be really surprised at some of the really cool things that you can do here.
Safe and cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So it is the Bucket List Show. So what are some bucket list events this summer and this fall that should be on people's radars?
Definitely music at the intersection. We are proud to partner with the Kransberg Arts Foundation to bring a 2-day music festival to Grand Center. So do not miss music at the intersection. It's going to be huge.
Erykah Badu, Gary Clark Jr. headlining that.
Yes.
You know, there are a lot of local artists that are also going to be there. That's a big part of this, is showcasing a lot of local talent as well. We're going to have Blues at the Arch, which will be in August. You know, a big, nice blues festival just sitting right under there, you know, at the Arch. But, you know, there's so much to do. And certainly, don't get me wrong, I'm going to be creating a mini bucket list for you by the time this is all said and done. But, you know, I just encourage folks to head over to our website at racstl.org, where we do keep a lot of those events and talk about a lot of those events. But also, you know, just keep your ear to the ground. There are a lot of other places that really do a good job of talking about the arts. The Riverfront Times does a wonderful job. St. Louis Magazine does a wonderful job. Explore St. Louis. You know, there are a lot of folks who are trying to keep their ears to the ground on some of the smaller things and some of the things perhaps that are off the beaten path. But the big thing I would say is not necessarily like one big event or one particular event. It's the stuff that's happening all the time. It's, you know, don't get me wrong, I love the Fox, and I've seen a lot of shows at the Fox. But, you know, you might also consider going to see one at the Repertory Theater. You might consider seeing one at the Kirkwood Performing Arts Center. You might go see one at the Black Rep. You're going to see a way different type of show than the big productions of The Lion King or Hamilton. And those are super fun, and I love those. But, you know, if you like art house films, you know, if you like those indie films and, you know, you're not always in the mood for, you know, Iron Man, and you want to see, you know, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I don't know why those two came to my mind, but that's what came to my mind. But, you know, that's what these smaller theaters are. And
it's more intimate as well.
Yeah, it's much more intimate.
And you can
like
meet
there's
the
no
people
bad
behind
seat.
you can meet the people there. Like you can actually, like at the Lion King, like, yeah, they did great, but I can't go like talk to them.
Yeah,
after.
That's right.
And you still might have a seat that's pretty far away. It's going to cost you $180 a ticket. where you can get, don't get me wrong, I don't want to tell anyone how much I spent on Hamilton tickets. But, you know, you can get to these smaller theaters for $20, $30, and you literally are right there. Right. And so I think some of these shows have, you know, they really have to focus on story. Just like art house films, like, you know, you have these indie flicks, like they have to focus so hard on story because they don't have the budget to do the big, you know, special effects and set design and all that kind of stuff. So they're really hyper focused on dialogue and acting and whatnot. Not that the bigger shows aren't, but
matters more.
Exactly, because that is what people are going to come away with. So I would just encourage everyone to really check out some of those smaller venues. And we have, I believe, like per capita, when you talk about metropolitan areas, we actually have more theaters than just about anybody in the country. When you talk about our size of our city, theater is a really big deal here. And so, you know, you should go out and see that. And we also have a ton of wonderful music venues. I'm so excited that we're growing music venues.
You guys are right across the street from one of the best.
That's right. You know, the pageant's right there. But, you know, St. Louis Music Park has popped up. You've got the facility, the factory out at Chesterfield.
That's a cool place.
You know, you've got the Chesterfield Amphitheater that's really ramped up doing things. And we love to see that. I love to see some music venues out in West County. I love to see them downtown. I love to see them everywhere, because the more accessible we can make all of these things, the better off we're all going to be. Because Vanessa's unfortunately right. A lot of people stay very close to where they live, and they don't
venture out as much.
And certainly we're trying to fix that. But I'm also encouraged that we're seeing more things pop up in different areas. So it's going to bring more accessibility to the people that perhaps, you know, would not go downtown or what have you.
One other thing that I want to encourage folks, the holidays are upon us, and art is a great gift for family and friends. Subscription to our performing arts theaters and or just a custom-made piece of jewelry or a painting. And so think about purchasing art, investing in art, and supporting arts organizations as part of your holiday shopping, because it's already July. So we'll look up and we'll be celebrating Halloween, and then it'll be Thanksgiving, and then it'll be
Boom,
the
it's
holidays.
Christmas.
Remind me December 23rd, and I got you. So
You're one of those. Come on, man.
He actually is really one of those.
I'm good at
That's
giving gifts,
terrible.
though.
That's terrible.
So yeah, guys, continue to support local. That's all like we really want in St. Louis. That's all we do. And if we continue to do that, we continue to strive. Support art. We're
Build
gonna
up
put
your community.
Yeah, we're gonna put so much information about this partnership on social media, on our website. Stay tuned for the Regional Arts Commission themed bucket lists that are gonna be coming out.
Yes.
Every month, we're gonna give you guys events every weekend to do. RAC funded events, even just any art events. We just want to support all art,
Absolutely.
music, artists. We're going to highlight murals around town. There's a couple people that we work with that does great work with that. So thank you guys so much for coming in
Thanks for
today.
having us.
And making time in your guys' busy schedule. And when this comes out, it's going to be a lot of fun stuff going on. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said, every Wednesday morning, we're partnered up with the Regional Arts Commission, and we're recording right here at Half Coast Studios. So if you guys have a podcast, you guys want to start a podcast, definitely hit these guys up at Half Coast Studios. So thank you, Jay.
Yay!
Thank you, Vanessa.
Absolutely. We're happy to be here.
St. Louis, we can't thank you enough for all the support of our podcast. We're 18, 19 episodes in, and we've been blessed with some amazing partners here in the St. Louis area. One of them is the Snoot Glass. It's the world's thinnest insulator. You guys can put cocktails in here, water. You can even put, cans and seltzers. So
Seltzer cans.
it's just been a nice partnership. We're getting some custom ones made that we're going to be giving out to you guys as well. And then, of course, our friends over at Four Hands Brewery and the Regional Arts Commission. We just can't thank you guys enough for supporting the podcast. This allows us to grow the show and share more content and highlighting everything great about St. Louis. So until next week, thank you.